Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Our Watch. As you know, we are being lied to about so many things, especially we know our health and what's going on in medicine here in America and abroad. And we have an amazing guest that's going to be talking to us about just that. His name is Dr. Bryan Ardis. Before we bring him on, I just want to remind you, if you would, like this video, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Head on over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our Watchmen. We'd really appreciate that. But let's get into it. We've got Dr. Bryan Ardis. Dr. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, glad to have you out. You have opened my eyes in many ways, and everybody that I know is sending me your podcasts and different events that you've been on, and different podcasts you've been on, different events you've spoken at. And every time I watch one of the videos that you're on, I'm learning something new. So I'm excited, really excited to hear from you today. But what I want to do for this podcast is I want to talk about you and your faith and what drives you. So you're a man of faith. Share with us, if you would, about your faith and how faith has shaped the way you approach truth and medicine and healthcare.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. Actually, it doesn't come up enough, I don't think. It's been a massively busy, overwhelming last 5 years of my own personal life. I don't know what the pandemic and the aftermath was like for all of you at home, but it was incredible for me. Everything was based on faith, actually. So when you actually get into science, I personally was raised in a home that had a deep reverence for God and Jesus Christ. So the Bible was in our home. We studied that Bible, went to church every Sunday, and I've always had a deep respect spiritually that God is my Father. He is my Creator. And I do believe and have experienced multiple times throughout my life His direct communication with me. And I absolutely see God as my Father and me as one of His children. And I've never, ever once ever doubted that He doesn't directly communicate, love, and support those who are seeking His guidance. So I was also, though, raised in a home that had no knowledge truly of alternative medicine, did not attempt to eat well, did not attempt to seek out chiropractic, acupuncture, nutrition, ever. I was exposed to vaccines as a kid up until I was 8 years old, just like most Americans were in the 70s and 80s, but never received any vaccines as an adult. So I have a deep-seated faith in God and the creations of His, which are all of the earth around you, the sky, the atmosphere, the light, the water, the land, the minerals that are in the land that supply food to develop plants that we consume. The animals, all of us included, get nourishment from the sun and from the plants that God, I believe, created and organized on our behalf. And I've always held very securely the belief that when God told Adam and Eve in the garden that everything He built in those 5 days leading up to putting Adam and Eve on the earth and in the garden, when He said everything I put here was for the benefit of man, I believe it. But I was raised in a very traditional, medically minded home, so there was no alternative sphere. Where that all was challenged was when my sister was actually diagnosed at 11 years old with an autoimmune disease at a hospital in Dallas, Texas, called systemic lupus erythematosus, and the prognosis, the outlook for her that was articulated to my parents and then brought to me at home as the older brother of 5. She was the youngest. They repeated back to me what they told them. And to me, as a 21-year-old kid, I had no idea what my parents had heard was not what I heard. And this is, I hope, hopefully a very good lesson for all. My parents repeated what the medical profession had told my parents, and it was, she's got this autoimmune disease that is very rare for children to have. But remember these words that my parents were told, because most of you are told the same thing. And anybody that you've ever loved, Tim, in your own life have been told the same thing. We don't know what causes your condition, and there is no known cure. But there are these drugs you have to live on for the rest of your life to try to manage your symptoms to give you an improved quality of life. And in her case, it was just to reduce her pain throughout her entire body. As an 11-year-old was debilitating. Now, that was the diagnosis. The prognosis was she will never be cured. She'll never be able to live without the drugs she needs to be on. They named the drugs to me and then repeated to me. My parents told me that the doctors had told her that her only options for treatment were these medications. that are all FDA approved, obviously, but I didn't really care about that at the time. What I cared most about is what they said was going to happen to my sister as a result of taking these drugs every day the rest of her life. And this was the prognosis. Mr. and Mrs. Ardis, your daughter actually has a condition that cannot be cured. She'll have to be on these 3 drugs for the rest of her life, and those drugs will destroy her kidneys and liver over time. She most likely will not live into her 40s. So her lifespan has been shortened because of the drug treatment options. And then it was pronounced to my family that she would never be able to bear children because one of those drugs causes stillbirths and birth defects. And I literally looked at my parents and I said, I am not letting that profession kill my sister and not let her be a mother and have a family because they don't know what's wrong with her.
Right.
So my parents, of course, were, as any parent should be, just as God watched Christ on the cross. That hurt. As a parent, my parents were devastated, crying, sobbing that there was no cure or relief for my sister for the rest of her life. And that's all they heard. And for me, to me, it was just so black and white. They said, we don't know what's wrong with her when they said, we don't know what causes this. We don't know how to fix her either. There's no cure. There's only these drugs that'll destroy her organs over time and make her not be able to have a family in the future. I actually looked at my family and said, I'm not going to let that profession kill my sister because they don't know what's wrong with her. That's weird. Now, that's what I heard. Now, I don't know how people don't hear that, but that's what they're saying to you if you just take them for their literal terms. So I decided in that moment, I told my parents, if they can't figure out what's wrong with her, I will go see what other professions in healthcare there are that maybe do know how to heal people and find the underlying cause of symptoms, because she was normal for the first 10 years of life. Why? All of a sudden in her 11th year, has she been debilitated by pain in all of her joints? Something happened. It was obvious to me something happened 6 months ago. So that's what led me on a path to seek first to go into medicine. I thought I'd go be a medical doctor and get into research, but I soon learned a few years into my undergraduate studies at Brigham Young University that the medical profession doesn't research root causes of diseases. All medical schools around the country are being funded with donation money from pharmaceutical companies to investigate their drugs, first in animals and then in humans. It's not about looking for the underlying cause of anything. It's about what can we give people in the form of a prescription to mitigate or minimize their symptoms. And for me, that was never good enough. I would like my sister and anybody out there watching, no matter what you're suffering with, I want you to live the way you did before your symptoms ever started. And for me, I found it very hard. I still find it hard, actually. How many people in this country called the United States of America, which was founded on Reformation of Protestant belief systems, if you profess that God is all-knowing and created a perfect human body, why do we believe that it cannot overcome or heal itself when all of us are beholding primarily to stories of the great physician that we all have hope in? Jesus created miracles all over everywhere he walked. And that's the greatest, most motivating stories you read about in the New Testament. I find it interesting that Christ never once gave a prescription to anybody to go to CVS or Walgreens down the street and get a pharmaceutical drug to heal them. Right. He never did that, ever. First, it was faith and hope in him and his potential to heal. He knows how to heal. He created this thing. So for me, it is, over the years, have developed a much more even deeper belief in God and have a much deeper respect for the nature he created inside of me, outside of me, in the world that I live in. And it has really been a 25-year journey and growth to remove the shackles of deception of what health can be, because healthcare is promoted to you that it comes in a syringe and a needle, it comes in a drug or prescription pill, and that's your only options, or surgery. But that isn't true. And so, unfortunately, as I've studied how the human body's design is in order to try to help people like my sister recover from the symptoms they've been told they would live forever with, I have been blown away by the tens of thousands of patients in my multiple practices over the last 20 years, watching them heal from conditions they were told they would never be free from. And the truth is, miracles happen every day. Those miracles are infused, just like God said he infused knowledge into the seeds of every plant. He's put into the seed knowledge to sprout forth the fruit, no matter where it's planted. You have an immune system inside of you that is perfect, and man, science, and industry has created chemicals and poisons which literally adulterate your immune system, suppress your immune system's functions, that allows them, men in labs around the world, to develop chemical structures that are synthetic and then sell them to you as they are your only hope for healing. And nothing could be farther from the truth. An apple a day still keeps the doctor away. And we've all continued to be lied to even to this day.
You know, I identify with you in the sense of I'm the oldest of 8, and I had a younger brother who passed away from cancer back in the 70s, and it was hard to watch him go through that. And subsequently, I've had several other family members have cancer. Thankfully, my mother survived it, my brother survived it, but after going through chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries. And I told my wife, I said, so much cancer in my family. If I ever, watching my family go through it, if I ever get cancer, there's no way I'm going to go through that. There's got to be a natural way for me to be healed. And if I don't get healed, I know where I'm going and how I'm getting there. So, yeah, I identify with that. It sounds like that was a large part of what caused you to start challenging the mainstream medical narratives that are out there. Many of them are problematic, as you know. What was the thing that really opened your eyes to the problematic nature of these mainstream medical narratives?
Well, really, truly, it was thousands of patients that I dealt with one-on-one, where they've been told the same lies over and over and over, that there's no hope for you, and all of your problems and suffering, unfortunately, are based in the inherited genetics your parents gave you. That is an absolute fraudulent, sweeping, bold-faced, deceitful lie that everyone states in a white coat to you. The truth is, if it was genetic, all of your disorders, you would have been born with it. When do you receive your genetics?
At conception.
So if you've got a problem, it's going to show up at birth when we lay our eyes on you.
Right.
The first time we lay eyes on you, we know. All of your family members know this. You know this. When you're born, nephew, nieces, your own kids are born, the first thing everybody looks for is, do they have 10 fingers, 10 toes? Sweet. Then the next thing is, what color hair? What color, what skin tone? What eye color do they have? And then immediately every family member wants to claim that they inherited their genetics. You've got Aunt Susie's red hair. You got Aunt Janine's skin tone. I mean, your genetics are inherited at conception, and they are present your entire life. Genetics do not show up in your 40s and 50s all of a sudden to be the cause of your high blood pressure, your heart disease, your diabetes. No, something happened to you. The question is, what? And if any profession's not willing to look at root causes for your changes in your physiology, then you should say goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, one of the things for me personally is, they're telling me somehow with my genetics, I produce too much cholesterol. We need you on a statin. Then I found out what statins are doing, and I'm like, I ain't taking that. And they're telling me, oh, cut out all your red meat. And I did, and I still was producing tons of cholesterol. So then I went on the carnivore diet, and all of a sudden my cholesterol dropped 100 points. And all I was eating was stuff with cholesterol. So those kind of things cause me to challenge what I'm being told. And behind all of this, what I see, and I want to know if you see the same thing, I see a spiritual battle that's taking place. Do you see that spiritual battle in what's happening with healthcare and the government mandates that are taking place?
Yeah, I would ask everybody to read Revelations 18:23. If you think you're in the end times, you should go read it.
Yeah.
Because it states, in the final days, all nations of the earth will be deceived by a Greek term, pharmakia, which in your English King James versions will read witchcraft or sorcery, which is the English translation of the word pharmakia. So every time you see the word pharmacy, you're dealing with a very deceitful industry led by sorcery and witchcraft. And yes, this is a very spiritual battle. In fact, from the things I've presented and have learned in the last 4 years that have been open to me, I believe intuitively and revealed to me through God's intuition and spirit, and research, I believe it has been man and Satan's attempt, Lucifer's attempt, forever. Since the Garden of Eden, I think it's been his attempt to intermingle the seed of his own with the seed of man. Just as God placed enmity between the two of them, I think man, science, pharmaceuticals, that is their end goal. And if you haven't looked at the cover of January 11th, 1999's Time magazine, this is a very specific cover. January 11th, 1999, Time magazine. The title of the article is The Future of Medicine. The subtitle on the front cover reads, How Genetic Engineering Will Change Us in the Next Century. Before I tell you what the illustration is on the cover of that magazine, I'd like to ask you, Tim, do you believe God screwed up when he created us?
Not one bit.
Then why the hell do we think that science and the future of medicine we should be holding to and show reverence and humility for when their goal in this century, we're in the 2000s, from 1999, they declared what their mission is. It is to change us through something called genetic engineering. Do you believe God is perfect?
Absolutely.
Do you believe God is perfect in the designs of his creations?
Absolutely.
Really?
That he's perfect in designing?
And
Absolutely.
designed us perfectly?
Yes.
And why in the world would it be okay with any industry thinking we need to be changed?
Right.
What part of us do you think needs to be changed?
Yeah. Well, I think back to, what did Jesus say? How are you going to know? When his disciples said, how are you going to know? How are we going to know when you're coming back? He says, as it was in the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, the human genome was being messed with.
Tim.
By Satan.
This is an amazing interview. Do you know what the illustration is behind the words, the future of medicine, how genetic engineering will change us in the next century?
Tell me.
It is the DNA double helix, and half of the double helix, one of the strands, turns into the head of a green snake. So it's half human, half serpent, which would be the direct illustration of the intermingling of the seed of the children of men with the serpent seed. So, yes, this is a very, very spiritual battle. And I'll just say it now. If you watch the madness they called COVID-19, but prior to that even, but during COVID-19, the golden idol, the golden calf that Moses would have been pissed about during 2021, everyone idolized a syringe-laced vaccine for COVID. Like that was the savior of the world. No. And I found it really disgusting that even Pope Francis said the thing the world needs more than ever during the entire pandemic for 4 years, he chanted, there's only two things the world needs. The world needs more vaccines. Really? And it need to defund all their militaries and loosen their borders. Okay, listen, you're the man of the cloth, supposedly, representing the largest Christian group in the world. You're supposed to be an oracle between man and God. You really think for a second I believe God has communicated to you that what his children need on this earth, all 8 billion of them, is more drugs made by pharmaceutical companies? And the great physician is Jesus Christ himself.
Right.
Who we all know that faith alone precludes the miracle, not the syringe or the needle. So, yes, this is very much a spiritual war. And I want to say something to everybody out there. I know all of you have a love and admiration that has been programmed into you to admire and revere those in white coats who give you prescription drugs and prescriptions for those drugs. But I really need you to ask yourself, do you really believe that your symptoms, whatever it is you've been diagnosed with, whatever you suffer with that you're taking a prescription drug for, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you have high blood pressure and you're on lisinopril, which, by the way, is snake venom in a tablet from a viper in Brazil called the Jaracus viper since 1981. You're welcome. I don't think your doctor told you you're swallowing dried snake venom to lower your blood pressure, but you are. But I would ask you, if you're on high blood pressure drugs like lisinopril or any others, if you have atrial fibrillation and you're on Xarelto, it's been prescribed to you by your cardiologist, if you have migraines and you're giving yourself injections of Imitrex, do you really believe that your migraines, your high blood pressure, your diabetes, your heart disease, do you really think that your symptoms are caused by drug deficiency? Do you think your body got low in Advil, so you developed a fever? Are you low in Tylenol, so your child's now having fever? And if it's not true, which none of those examples are true, none of us were designed by God to have acetaminophen running through our body, Advil running through our body. No, these are man-made chemicals and drugs. None of us are deficient in those things. Every single disease, every single symptom is a clear sign you are specifically nutrient deficient. And the moment you put those nutrients back in that God gave you and put in the earth, it's amazing to watch the earth and the earth supply to the human body as God designed it, everything that's for the benefit of man. What's an example during COVID? Where is zinc found? And everybody knows that zinc was important for everybody during COVID to help stave off a worsening COVID infection or to prevent it altogether. Where is zinc found? In the dirt. It's called a mineral. Where else does it live? It lives on the periodic table of elements you learned about when you were a kid. These are all the elements man and science has been able to figure out and make up all of the universe and all life on the planet and our bodies. Well, guess what else is on the periodic table of elements that's in the dirt? Zinc. What else is in there? Iodine. What else is in there? Selenium. And all of these are found in your fruits and vegetables and plants. Also in your meats. So if you get back to the basics and trust, I have more faith in God's nature than man's science 24/7. And I would bank. I'd love for people to start asking themselves these kind of questions, because I was doing it from stages all over the place during COVID. I'd ask everybody in the audience, do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Yes. Do you believe Jesus Christ will come back? Yeah. What if he came back today? During COVID. Do you think he'd be in the line at Home Depot to get a COVID-19 vaccine before he traveled to the next country?
Yeah, pretty
think,
seriously doubt that.
Do you think that he would tell you to bring all the children to him like he did in the New Testament? Bring all the little ones to me. Do you really think he would say, bring all the vaccinated children to me, unvaccinated stay back? Do you think he would ask you to wear a mask?
Stay 6 feet away from him.
Yeah, stay 6 feet away, people.
Yeah.
No, and if he wouldn't behave that way, I thought we were trying to emulate our lives after his example. Right. And so I think we should start contemplating how is our behavior reflective of our beliefs.
I agree with you 100%. We only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to ask you one final question, because I hear what you're saying. I hear what the mainstream medical narrative is, but Christians have to have some sort of hope. And, you know, we have decisions that we have to make for ourselves and for our family. What could you say that would give my audience some hope in the midst of all of this?
Hope in the midst of all of this. That's a great question, actually. Number one. All right, so this would be what I would encourage everybody at home to do. In the still quiet moments of your day, which if you don't have any, you should absolutely find time to be in the closet alone. God is instilled inside of you. You have a physical body. You have the spirit that God engineered, and he fused them with this physical body, which represents the soul you're walking around with right now. I absolutely 100% believe that the intuition of your spirit, which has all knowledge that God carries, that you, if you can just be quiet long enough and respect the gut feelings, the intuition, you too will know what is right for you. And I trust that God will put inside of you the intuition to know when you're in danger, when something is a fraud, a deceit, that you will know. And I would say trust yourself more than you do already. And so trust yourself and do your own research. And never doubt God's nature and food that he gave you. I would always go there first.
Great advice. Dr. Bryan Ardis, I appreciate you being with us today. You have a book that's out. How can people get that book, and also how can people connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, you can go to thedrardisshow.com and get my book. It's also on Amazon. There's also an Audible version. People have all reported that the Audible version is their favorite because I'm so sarcastic and they can get my emotion from every word I wrote. But it's available on Audible and Amazon, and it's in most bookstores now too. So it's been an Amazon bestseller for over a year now.
Congratulations on that. Appreciate all that you're doing. I want to thank you once again for joining us, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, like this video, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Head on over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our Watchmen. We truly appreciate that. Until next time, we'll see you right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.